everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. We are really excited to be here today. We are talking a little romance in the June movies that Hallmark was able to gather together. And amazingly, in this time of quarantine, they were able to give us some new, to us at least, new movies. And I am film critic Rachel Wagner, and I am joined by friend of the podcast, Ruth Hill is here.
Hey, it's great to be back. I know it's been a long time.
I know. I think the last time was last fall, I think.
That probably sounds right.
Yeah. So welcome. Thank you so much for coming. And how have you been?
Honestly, things have been really, honestly, they've been really great. I mean, I really don't have any complaints. Since I am with my daughter and my parents, we were all quarantined together during the lockdown and all that. But it was not, it's really been a great creative time for me. A lot of things been happening, and so it's actually all been, it's really been, I mean, I know that there are people suffering, so I don't try to, and it's not, but it's been a positive thing for me, which is good.
Well, yeah, that's what's been interesting, is that it's given us all, it's been something new for all of us. And so I think while it's been difficult, it has also, how often we, especially as adults, do we get something that is new? Like we've never experienced, nobody's ever experienced this before.
That's right.
Yeah. We're all just kind of figuring it out as we go. And I've been really pleased to see from just your Instagram. It seems like you have been exploring your music, which has been really fun. I've really enjoyed seeing that.
Oh, well, thanks. Yeah, that, I mean, I have to, honestly, I will give credit that Paul Greene has been a huge inspiration as far as that goes. And he got me hooked up with his voice teacher, which was totally amazing, and has been helping me make those, well, has seen what I was doing and given me a lot of suggestions to make them better, make the videos better. And and he's been very active throughout this time as well, has given over 50 Facebook Live concerts.
Oh, wow.
Oh my goodness, it's really crazy. I mean, I don't mean to be giving a plug, but I will, just because I think if anybody is interested, you really should go check out Paul Greene's Facebook page, because he has all of his, and even his YouTube, any of that. He's got all of these concerts that he's been doing during quarantine, which is unbelievable, and he is continuing to do them, and it is amazing. So if anybody wants something, they don't know what to do with themselves, it's a really good place to go to.
Yeah, cool. I didn't realize that. That's neat. Have you always been interested in singing?
Yeah, I was actually, that was what my major was in. I majored in sacred music, and I was always going to be either a singer, be involved with being on Broadway. I mean, I had all these ideas, and then I ended up being a music teacher. So I did that for a number of years. And, but what happened really was I listened to a lot of people I shouldn't have. And I just decided I'll just give up my music and not talk about it anymore. And just, and it was actually when I went in December to Carnegie Hall and saw the concert that Paul Greene was a part of, that was actually what began to bring me back. And so then the whole quarantine thing happened, and it worked out that now I'm back to doing it, and taking weekly voice lessons now for a couple months, and it's been really exciting.
That's great. I'm happy for you. That's awesome. So have you been doing any like quarantine cooking at any baking or anything like that?
No, the thing is, I always cook the dinners for the family. So I mean, I haven't been doing any additional baking.
Uh-huh.
I know it's like the thing, a lot of people are, but I'm always cooking, so
Yeah.
um, it's not like a big thing. What we did is that we would every Saturday we would order something locally, and I'd go into town and pick it up because we were
Okay.
trying to make sure that we would support the local businesses here.
Right. Yeah.
Um, but no, I haven't done anything extra as far as that goes. It's what I've been doing. I've been binging a lot of shows.
Ooh.
I have. My mom has been binging a lot of shows as well. I mean, I finally finished watching season 4 of Unreal. So I finally got
Oh,
that done
okay.
after I've been telling Brennan Elliott for like 3 years, I'm gonna watch season 4, and it never quite got around to it. And so I finally
Yeah.
did. I've been watching The Man in the High Castle.
Oh.
Finally I'm on the second season of that. So that's really great.
Uh-huh.
My mom, let's see, we watched Elementary, The
Oh.
Mentalist,
Uh-huh.
Alias. I mean, it's like we're watching all these shows. I find these shows and so
Yeah, I've been the same. I finally watched Stranger Things season
oh
3.
yeah.
Yeah, because I was just so busy with the podcast
Yeah,
last summer when it was on, so
right.
I never watched it, and then I kind of just kept putting it off, and
Mm-hmm.
so I finally watched it, and I really enjoyed it. It was really
Awesome.
good, and I watched the Dark Crystal on
Oh,
Netflix, and that
was
was
that was
incredible.
that good? Okay.
Yeah, it's a little slow. The story is a little slow, but the puppetry is just so amazing that
Okay.
just the visual spectacle is really cool.
Yeah.
And so I really enjoyed that, and I really enjoyed on HBO. There was a docuseries
Mm-hmm.
called McMillions that I
Hmm.
really
Oh,
enjoyed.
is that good? Okay,
Yeah.
I've seen the that come up as recommendation, and I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's really, really good. It's about how this crazy group of people all ended up kind of swindling the McDonald's
Mhm.
monopoly.
Uh-huh.
And it's nice because a lot of times this sort of true crime stuff, you feel kind of bad watching it
Yeah.
because people are, are losing their savings, and like
Mhm.
these scams and stuff, and like it's interesting to follow the case, but you
Mhm.
feel bad because these people's lives are being ruined, and so, but in this case there's really no, it's like a victimless crime
Mhm.
because McDonald's was giving the money away anyway, and
Oh, okay.
so they just found a way to get it, and so nobody was really hurt by it, so I felt like it
Okay.
was easier to be sort of entertained, and the lead
Okay.
investigator is really entertaining. He's
Okay.
very good television, and it might have some profanity, but
Mhm.
other
Yeah.
than that, it's pretty good for HBO, and I
Okay.
really really enjoyed it. But
Oh,
yeah,
good to
it's been
know.
fun to have some extra time to finally
Mm.
get some
Yeah.
of that binge watching
Right.
done.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
yeah.
So, but how do you think that Hallmark has handled the situation as far as they did the Christmas weekends, and they
Mhm.
had pulling together this little romance, and how do
Mhm.
you think that they've done with this all?
Well, I really think that I mean, I've enjoyed the fact that they have been able to find some new content as well. I mean, that they've
Mm-hmm.
been able to to acquire new
Mm-hmm.
content, because I think that's going to be what a lot of networks are having to do at this point.
Right.
You're seeing the major networks do it as well as they're looking towards the fall. Honestly, my only concern has been that there's a lot, and I know that it's a crazy time, but it makes it really difficult when there's all these changes that happen, like they're going to show this movie and then they pull it at the last
Mm.
minute, or um
Yeah,
or
we're gonna talk about that. Yeah, it's
okay, okay, yeah,
it's bonkers. I
yeah, I know it's a crazy time. I just feel I honestly think part of what's going on is that they don't have an actual leader since
Right.
January. And I really think that Hallmark's suffering from that a little bit. And I'm not trying to put them down. I mean, I still love the network. I love the people that are involved, but I feel like I hope that they can find a leader to take over as CEO, because I really think I think that's what's going on. I feel like it's almost like a rudderless ship, they're kind of like floating around, and then they'll get some good stuff over here, it's growing really well, but then because they don't have that leadership, I really think that's what. And so it's like, I'm not putting them down, I'm still trying to be as supportive as I possibly can. And then, you take into account all the other stuff that's going on in the world. I know it's been a crazy time. What does Hallmark do? And there's all these protests going on. And so I know it's crazy.
It does feel a little like the inmates are running the asylum at certain points.
Yeah. I know. And I feel bad. I mean, I don't want to see that for them, but I really got my fingers crossed that, come on, please there's got to be somebody who can take over, and because I think that's what it is. With any corporation, if you don't have a CEO, I think any corporation does a lot of floundering. I mean, it's just, you don't have anybody to answer to. You don't have that person on top that finally makes all the decisions.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. I do. So they canceled Country at Heart again. And it's just so bonkers. Like, I don't know any other studio or network that would be outwardly promoting up until days before, and then it's just gone, and then to do it twice.
I know
bizarre. It's unheard of. And I mean, it's just frustrating as a podcast, because we had Jessie on. I interviewed her last fall for the movie, and then we ended up posting the interview before a review of Road to Christmas. But so we were just kind of like, I mean, it was just frustrating. And then we interviewed, we're like, oh, this is for sure, it's gonna happen. So we interviewed Rick Garman and had that on that week.
My goodness.
And we did interview Niall as well, but at least he had the Aurora Tea Garden, so there was something for him. But yeah, and so I don't know, there's nobody left when it finally airs.
I know.
And it's just it is. I try to wrap my brain around how that can make business sense.
I know.
So you literally are spending money on advertising and getting everybody excited, and
I know.
It just, what? It doesn't make sense. And it would be really nice if they would at least have some kind of statement.
I know.
They just it's all of a sudden it's just gone, and it's so weird. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't get it.
I know. I feel really bad for the three people you mentioned, and Luke McFarlane was in that too, isn't that right?
No, Lucas Bryant.
Lucas Bryant. I'm sorry, Lucas Bryant. You're right. I'm sorry. Wrong. I get those two names confused, so I'm
no, that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah, and I think I mean, I guess if they wanted to show a more diverse film in its place, I can understand that.
Yes,
I would still just like some kind of, even a tweet out, like, this is what we decided to do. Just some communication with their fans in this day and age, I think is appropriate.
I'm with you on that. I was very disappointed, and I felt so bad for the people that it honestly breaks my heart for the people who were involved in the movie. Because also now that one was directed by Peter DeLuise?
No, that's Living Under the Old Tree.
No, that's, I'm sorry, you're right. You see, I'm getting them all confused because I would have known that, but it was like those two that were pulled, and I was like, okay, which one was which?
Yeah, this is by a Bradley Walsh. I don't
That's
know.
right. Oh yes, I know who he
Yeah.
is. Thank you. Yes, I
Yeah.
know who. Yes, he's done some Hallmarks. Yep, I know who he is.
But
Yeah,
it's just unheard of. I've
Yeah.
never heard of any other network pulling
Yeah.
something days before, and then like, and especially in this case, them doing it twice.
Yeah, I know.
Like, what is in this movie? By the time we finally see it, it's gonna be so hyped and so ridiculous to be like, it's like the holy grail of Hallmark movies at this point. Like,
I know, and I know that Niall has posted about that movie, about how much he was so pleased with that movie, and
yeah,
there's music, and that's like, but yeah, I know.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So
But
yeah,
I
we
know
agree.
I know but I know the network makes those decisions, but it's just it's hard. That's why I think it goes back to, we really do need for Hallmark to find a CEO.
Later.
I just really
Yeah.
I
Well,
really
and
think so.
I felt that way for a little while, even last year with like Fall Harvest was just kind of a mess, and other, obviously the whole Zola thing and just some other stuff. Like, I feel like it's just, as an observer, it seems like they're very fractured, and you'll hear one thing on social media, one thing, and another thing will happen, and you'll hear one thing on their podcast and one thing on, and it doesn't seem like there's a unified voice on it, on what kind of them as a network and what's happening. And I think maybe it's because they just overextended themselves. They were just making too much. They were doing too much. And so, that like, when you, like anybody in life, when you overextend yourself, you make mistakes.
Right.
And things happen. And so it'll be interesting to follow as podcasts, and as to see what happens. I mean, it'll be interesting on a lot of levels to see kind of what decisions they make coming up, and it's very exciting to see the movies getting made. They're back into production. This will air next Wednesday, but where they're starting filming again, and we've seen Andrew Walker, Alicia Witt doing a movie, and a bunch of others that I've seen, and so that's very exciting. And I've been really surprised to see. I thought they would just go Christmas 100%, but there's been a couple of non-Christmas movies that I've seen that have been announced. So I guess maybe for summer or fall, we're actually going to get some new movies. So that's exciting.
That is exciting. Yeah, I like to see that as well. I like to see my friends going back to work.
Yeah,
it's hard. I mean, I have so many friends in Vancouver who it's like they're finally getting the chance to start going back to work, and it sounds like that When Calls the Heart will be starting up again fairly soon. And so it's going to be an unusual year as far as Christmas movies go, but I think that's why it's been interesting to see what movies that they've acquired. I think that's been interesting, and there have been some gems that they have acquired. I agree.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. The if you were to guess, how many Christmas movies do you think they're going to have? Because obviously we're not going to get 40.
Right. Okay, I'm just gonna take
guess.
I'm just gonna take a guess somewhere in the. I'm going to say 20, but that may be. We'll see. That'll just be my guess. I'll just throw out and I'll say 20.
Yeah, I think will also start later.
Yeah,
I think
I could see that.
Yeah,
and that
which would be such a blessing as a podcast. Like, please
start
later.
Yes. Please start later, and please don't make as many movies, because really I don't mind. You don't have to. I mean, I realize we're competitive. I understand they want to compete and they want in the market, but I really there is something to be said for quality over quantity.
Yeah.
I do believe, and that's not to, I understand, that they want to have the most new Christmas movies out there.
Uh-huh.
But if they put out even if they were to put out 10 new Christmas movies, I mean,
Yeah.
I think they'll do more than that. Personally, I think they'll do more than that. But even if they were to do that, and let's say that Lifetime put out 20 new Christmas movies, but if Hallmark's 10 Christmas movies are better than half of Lifetime's, if Lifetime puts out Christmas movies that are not
Mm-hmm.
high quality because they're just trying to flood the marketplace,
Right.
you're gonna get more people coming over and watching the movies on Hallmark because the movies are quality, and I think there is something to be said about that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we'll probably, my guess, including
Okay.
acquisitions,
Yeah.
is something like 15.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
But I bet we'll also get like they'll do kind of what they've been doing, this make it a date. And
Uh-huh.
they'll do like
Yeah.
commentaries and kind
Right.
of things on
Right.
favorites, which
Yeah.
I'm all about. I think that would be
Yeah.
fun.
Oh yeah.
And so yeah, I don't know, it's gonna, like I said, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. And but
Mm-hmm.
as a podcast, I mean, I'll be fine if I don't have to watch 115 Christmas movies.
Yes, I will be too, because I will be honest, there are Christmas movies still sitting on, now, not Hallmark, but there are
Yeah,
Christmas movies still sitting on my DVR that I did not watch from last year.
yeah, it
There
was
are a few.
intense.
Yeah, there are a few still sitting there, and I think, "Oh, I might watch that today." And then it's like, "No, I don't feel like it." but there are a few, and there are some that I actually want to watch. I just haven't,
Mhm.
and I haven't taken them off my DVR. So hey, maybe
Yeah.
next month when we're doing Christmas in July, I'll say, "Hey, I want to watch something new."
Did you have a favorite of Christmas last
last
year?
year,
Yeah,
oh goodness.
I know off the top of your head.
I know, I'm trying to, well, actually, Two Turtle Doves was one of the top
Yeah,
favorites for me.
yeah,
Um,
same.
yeah, I'm and
That and Christmas Town were my two favorites.
yeah, Christmas Town was in, I did a top 10 post somewhere, I think,
Uh-huh.
somewhere, and so,
Cool.
but but yeah, I really, there were some, well, and I liked the Hallmark Hall of Fame one too, with Christian Chenoweth.
Oh yeah. That
Yeah.
was pretty good. Well, let's dive in. So they were
Yes.
able to mash together some
Yep. Yep.
some new programming. We didn't have June Brides,
Right.
obviously,
Right.
like we would have normally had.
Right.
But we got Love in the Forecast.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes.
And
Uh-huh.
yeah, and I feel like I do think I probably was a little easier on this movie because I just really I needed it. Like I
Okay.
was
Okay.
just
Okay. Yeah.
like it had been a while since nature, what was it, Nature of Love or whatever.
Yes. Yes. Uh-huh.
And I was just like, I need my rom-com fix. I need it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so this movie, I'll just read the little synopsis. It's,
Mm-hmm.
while on a break from dating to focus on her career as an aspiring meteorologist, Leah befriends her neighbor Mark, who teaches her the importance of trusting nature and each other. And
Mm-hmm.
this is Cindy Busby, Christopher Russell, and Donna
Mm-hmm.
Benedicto, who
Yeah.
we love Donna on this. We've actually interviewed all three of those.
Mm-hmm.
We
Yeah.
love them.
Mm-hmm.
Directed
Mm-hmm.
by Chris Will Wolf, who's so
Mm-hmm.
fun.
Yep.
And so this movie, I do think the whole like don't trust science is like a little bit bonkers.
Well,
I don't really like that.
okay. Yeah.
But I think I liked some things about it. I liked that it was a longer relationship, that it was over the course of like a
Mm-hmm.
year,
Mm-hmm.
so it wasn't just like a weekend they're
Right.
back together. And they seem like they genuinely became friends,
Yes.
and I enjoyed that. I also I liked the whole aesthetic of sort of the rain throughout
Mm-hmm.
the movie, and
Mm-hmm.
the umbrellas, and just sort
Yep.
of, it was a little bit different. Like we haven't
Mm-hmm.
seen that in a Hallmark movie quite the way they did it.
Right.
And I also like that her career goals were really respected by the script, that she wasn't expected to just abandon her career for the country like some of these have her do. And so all those things, and I like Christopher and I like Cindy, and so they were good. And so overall I enjoyed it. It has its flaws, but I don't know, what do you think of it?
Oh, I absolutely loved it. I love Cindy. I really love I love just about anything that she's done. And having I think Cindy and Chris, they were really, it was really fun. I mean, just the two of them together. It wasn't like I thought the chemistry was nice. Again, it was that the friendship thing, then turning into love. I thought that was neat. I agree with you on that. I loved Nelson Wong's little role. I
Except it was kind of weird. I was like, why is she getting all of these flowers? Like,
I know.
Who is sending her all these flowers and all this stuff? Like, I feel like something got cut because it was.
I don't know.
Yeah, like it was fun, but it was also a little weird to me. But
she's
just getting all these flowers and stuff, singing telegrams, and
well,
I guess she's a weather girl, and people like weather girls.
Yeah. But... I guess so. Yeah, but it was and then it was fun to see Mark Brandon. I always like seeing him. I thought that was, and there were just, and then I thought that I thought her parents were fun. I know there were a lot of complaints about the wig. I know that I read several complaints about Jennifer Copping's wig. What played her mother. Yes, I did. I read several complaints. I
didn't have my wig dar on. I missed that.
Yeah, I heard about that.
That's funny.
At first I did not even recognize her. I was like, because I know she's in this movie. Who is she? She's like, oh, because she looked different. I think there were complaints. People said that she was not old enough to be Cindy Busby's mom.
Yeah, I do kind of agree with that.
Yeah, but I know, but I know things happen. I mean, I know that maybe that's not ideal, but it was still nice to see her. She doesn't always get to do a great role. That was at least more of a role than what she sometimes gets. Sometimes they just throw her in and she's like in one or two scenes. And I really do like her. And so I thought that was fun to see her. And then it was really cool to have, then all the music, all the soundtrack was really cool because Miranda Friggin, who is in Aurora Tea Garden, that was one of her songs was in the soundtrack.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
She's the one who plays you have the detective and his wife. Yeah. And so she was one of her songs is in the soundtrack, and then and I think you guys have interviewed Peter Graham.
Oh yeah, we did.
And he had probably the biggest role he's ever had in Hallmark. And one of his songs was also in the soundtrack, which was kind of cool.
Oh, cool. That's neat. And I did kind of laugh at. I liked that they gave Donna some more lines and more of a role. But I did kind of laugh that who's this guy having, like, women are just like making him food and like he's just kind of like, hey, like whatever. Like, I mean, he does look like Christopher Russell, so I kind of get it, but it kind of made me laugh. Like he has like women that are just like at his house 24/7 making him meals. Like what? Like, I think that he's like, well, we're just friends. Like friends don't make you giant meals. Like they don't do that. It kind of made me laugh. And but I really hope that they give Donna a leading role. I think she's
I
earned
do.
it. I
Oh
think
my
she
goodness.
deserves it,
Yes.
and
Yes.
I think it would be a great thing for just the diversity,
Right. I agree.
and I think she's good, and I think
Yes.
she would bring some humor to her
Oh
role,
yeah. She's amazing.
and
Yeah.
so I hope that that they see that, because
Yes. Yes. I do too.
I just think she's great.
Right.
She was one of my favorite interviews we've ever done. She was so
Yeah.
funny,
Yeah.
and so I would love to see that, but
Yes.
yeah, it kind of
Yes.
made me laugh.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and speaking of diversity, there is another actor who got one of his biggest, I think possibly his biggest Hallmark role. The one that played Duran Bell.
Uh-huh.
In fact, he actually tweeted a little bit, which was really something, because he doesn't, I haven't really seen him that active on Twitter. Um, I never actually got around to publishing the interview because there was this weird thing that happened. He was supposed to be in a Hallmark movie, and then at the last minute, the scheduling changed and they had to replace him. And so it was a really sad thing, but he was
Oh.
still listed as being in the Hallmark movie. And this was like a few years back. And so when I saw him pop up in the movie, I was like, oh my goodness, this guy, I remember him. And this was probably his biggest role. And so, although he was not in the movie a whole lot,
Yeah, he was fun. I liked him.
He's actually also a musician. And so, you never know where that may lead. But I was really happy to see him in that, and I made the prediction, so I'm really hoping it's true that this is when that this movie he might finally become, the Hallmark community might become aware of him. I mean, that this might be the movie, because this is a memorable role, a somewhat memorable role. I think he's been like having a very small role in another couple of movies, but this is one where it was a bigger role for him. So I'm hoping to see him more. And again, going back to the whole diversity thing, I was just, I don't always get super vocal about it. But I do really appreciate the diversity that when it is brought in. And so I'm hoping to see him in bigger roles, more of maybe giving him more of a supporting lead role, maybe even in the future. That's what I'm hoping to see.
Yeah, me too. I thought he was fun.
Yeah.
So overall, if 1 to 5 crowns, what would you give this film?
I'm going to say, I'll say 4.5. I'll go that high. I will go that high.
All right, I'd probably give it 3.5.
Okay.
Definitely enjoyed it, and I had a lot of strengths. And so yes, and I think it was Cindy's best role since Royal Hearts.
Yes, I would actually agree with you on that, and that's and really when I give it the 4.5, it's probably more because of the people who were involved with it.
Yeah,
the story might have had some holes and all that, but I guess I'm probably being generous because I absolutely love the people involved.
Yeah.
So that's always where my ratings go more towards that way.
Sounds good. All right. So then we had Timeless Love. This was on Hallmark Movies Mysteries. This is obviously an acquisition. And this stars Rachel Skarsten and Brant Daughtry. And it's Megan wakes up from a coma. The husband and 2 kids she dreamed about aren't real. At her first job interview, she meets Thomas from her dream, or was it a vision into the future? And this movie was really bonkers. And I have to say, of all, I kind of joke about there's Hallmark or horror, that you could just change I joke that you could change the music and it would be a horror movie. But that in this one could really easily be a Lifetime horror movie. You just change it into her like basically stalking him, and having this dream about him. And all of a sudden it's a scary movie. And so that kind of made me laugh. And it was kind of a weird movie. I enjoyed it. I thought it was obviously a lot lower budget than a typical Hallmark movie. But I thought was unique enough and different enough and had a nice heart to it that overall I liked it. I didn't really think that they needed the other woman in the story, for him to be dating this other woman. And I don't know, I just felt I didn't really like and that plot that I didn't really like that. I would have rather for him to just been like a single guy, and I think that would have worked better. But I don't know, it was different. So there you go. What do you think of it?
Well, I honestly really enjoyed it, but I guess I was super excited because I absolutely love Rachel Skarsten. I have been I mean, I remembered, the first time I ever saw her would have been the Hallmark Christmas movie, Marry Me at Christmas?
Yeah, Marry Me at Christmas, which I think that one's underrated. I like it too. I think Julie's script is really solid in that movie.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's based on a book, which I also liked the book. And Andrew Brooks is in that, and that one's a fun one. I agree.
But I have been I watched Batwoman. I watched the first season of Batwoman. And she plays the villain, like what I would say, almost like not quite, but almost like a female version of the Joker. I mean, you could say it's that kind of, I mean, and I absolutely loved her. In fact, she was the reason I kept watching Batwoman, because Rachel Skarsten in this role, I mean, there's a point in the series where you think that she's going to die, and I'm sitting here and I never root for villains. I never, ever, ever root for villains.
Right.
I didn't want her to die because I didn't want her to be out of the series. I mean, I'm sitting there thinking, what's happening to me? She is massively talented. I mean, when you were talking about this being a Hallmark horror story, I was thinking, well, yeah, it's Rachel Skarsten. She could have done that. She could have. If anybody could do a Hallmark horror film, she could do it. Because if you get the chance to watch Batwoman, now I realize some viewers would struggle because you have a lesbian as the main character. I realize that. But for those who might struggle with that, that's not actually like the driving force of the show. I mean, yeah, it's an element and it's important. I mean, I know it's groundbreaking and all that. And I recognize that, but Rachel Skarsten is unbelievable.
Cool. I didn't know that.
Oh my goodness. You would love it. I will tell you right now, you would absolutely love it. This would be right up your alley. Because and not to dismiss any of the other characters, and they're going to have a changing cast for the next season because, which I mean, I'm glad that Rachel Skarsten's not the one who's leaving, because she's like and what was really cool is to interview a lot of people who guest starred on that show, and they spoke so highly of her. She was one who was going to be she would interact with the kids. Even there's some Vancouver kids who were also in the show. And she interacted with them. They always spoke so highly of her. I heard it over and over and over again. And so my understanding is she's had her ups and downs in the industry, and Batwoman was a huge career changing thing for her. So that's great. So saying all that was one of the reasons I was super excited to watch the film. So I'm sitting there watching it, and I have gotten so used to seeing her as the villain. It was crazy for me to sit there and watch and say, now she's in a rom-com.
Right.
But there were certain moments where I'd be watching it and I think, she looks like her character from Bat. That's a look from when I mean, I'm sitting there she looks like her villain. She's like, once in a while she'd have that look.
Because even without that, there were times when I'm like, this lady's like really
exactly
like she needs counseling and help here. Like she's but I don't know. I was just again kind of in the mood for
yeah,
and it was fun because the
yeah.
whole thing was filmed in Utah, so
Yes,
I
exactly.
totally
Yeah,
recognized a lot of local actors and
yeah.
local
Oh yeah,
places,
yeah,
and so
yeah.
I don't know what. How many crowns did you give this one?
For this one, oh, that's really hard.
I know it is kind of hard.
It's hard. Um, I am going. I'm gonna say okay. I'll say 3.75. I will say that.
Yeah. I'm gonna give it a 3. I feel like
Okay.
it's probably a little generous, but I
Yeah.
overall thought it was fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have Love Under the Olive Tree,
Yes. Uh-huh.
and this one is Cabela Oil and Brandini's have been competing oil ranches for decades. However,
Mhm.
their grandchildren discover they may have more in common than they realized, and sparks begin to fly. This stars
Mhm.
Tori Anderson, Benjamin Hollingsworth, and Sean Roberts.
Mhm.
And so this was another one that was canceled
Yep.
like out of nowhere
Yep.
last fall.
Yep.
It was crazy,
Mhm.
and so we did get to see it. I interviewed Samantha Herman last fall, the
Okay.
writer,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
and so I luckily she did Sense and Sensibility and
Okay. Yeah.
Snowman, so I was
Right.
able to post the interview then.
Right.
But still, it was crazy,
Yeah.
and so yeah, this movie it's not reinventing the wheel
Right.
as far as the plot is, but I like these a lot of times these feuding families kind
Mhm.
of stories. I think they're
Yeah.
usually fun. This reminded me a lot of the first Vineyard movie, I
Mhm.
think,
Yep. Yep.
and I enjoyed that, and I enjoyed this.
Mhm.
I thought it was cute.
Mhm.
I liked Tori and Ben. I thought they
Oh
were
yeah.
nice
Yeah.
together, and we'll talk a little about some other things. But
Yeah.
I particularly liked the scene where they were dancing. I thought that whole
Yes.
scene was
Yes.
really good, very
Yes, I agree.
romantic,
Yep.
and so yeah, I enjoyed it. What did you think of it?
Yeah, it was really I was pleasantly surprised. I was expecting I think my expectations were very low since it had been pulled.
Uh-huh.
And my expectations were somewhat I wasn't sure Tori had only done one other Hallmark
Right.
movie, Return to Christmas Creek, which I felt was not a really good vehicle for her.
Oh, it wasn't my favorite. I
I'm
didn't
not.
love
I
it.
know. I know. I know. I didn't. I just at first, as much as I enjoyed the movie, I wasn't sure that it was the best for it. I don't. I didn't. I did not think
Yeah,
it was the best cast.
I
I
can
mean, I
see.
loved her. I loved her because I had interviewed her before the
Uh-huh.
movie, and so I was thinking, okay, she's going to be in this movie. I love Benjamin Hollingsworth. I love him. I mean, I've seen him in all sorts of different things, and so I
Mm-hmm.
was expecting him to be good, but I was just kind of like, what is she going to be like? Is she, because I tend to look at these leading actresses and think, um, you know, do they fit the Hallmark mold? Are they
Mm-hmm.
the ones that, are they going to be able to continue with Hallmark when it's their first movie? And so after Return to Christmas Creek, I wasn't sure that we'd ever see her on Hallmark again, just
Mm-hmm.
because it was just not, it didn't seem to work as well as maybe I'd hoped on
Yeah,
that particular movie.
I can see that.
Um,
Yeah.
but she nailed it. As far as I'm concerned, this should be the movie that will get her more Hallmark roles if she wants to go that path.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought that she was perfectly cast in the role. I really did. I thought it was a great vehicle for her. I thought the two of them together were lots of fun. And it was fun to see a lot of, familiar faces pop up. I mean, it was just like, oh, who's that? And it was like all
Yeah.
these familiar faces from
Yeah.
all sorts of movies. And then this was the one. Now I remember, of course, this was the one Peter DeLuise directed. And as far as I'm concerned, whenever I see Peter DeLuise's name as a director, I'm expecting it to be good. I was hopeful that this would live up to, that. And
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I mean, there could have been, I'm not. I mean, I don't go into it and say, well, everything was perfect, and I'm not,
Sure. Sure.
but I felt that it was it was better, so much better than what I expected. My
Mm-hmm.
mom, same way. We both sat there and watched it, and felt that it was even better than what we had expected it to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree with everything you said. I thought it was really pleasant and I really enjoyed it. And so they had the Sean Roberts character playing her friend, and I thought I love him. I mean, I've always loved him. I love Recipe for Love as one of my favorites.
Right.
With him and Daniel Panabaker, and we had a subtle first kind of gay relationship. I mean, if you can call it that, it was very subtle. And I thought it was handled really nice. And I mean, I'd like to see it be a little bit less subtle, I guess. But I think it was a good way to kind of dip their toes in that and to kind of get the conversation going and start talking to people, because I guess the way I feel about it is, even if you don't agree with the gay with LGBTQ content in these films, I think I just have no problem with seeing happy people. You know, if we're talking about content, PG-13 content, you want to keep these movies G-rated, I can understand that complaint. But if it's perfectly G-rated, people just being happy, I just don't understand how that, for me, that's not offensive at all. I thought it was really sweet, and so I'm glad to see it. I thought it was nice, and I think it was just good to kind of get the conversation going, and that's what I liked to see.
So it's interesting. So you bring that up. Okay, I'm just going to go back to Love in the Forecast for just a moment. This was interesting because my mom and I had exactly the same thought. I don't know if you remember, but towards the beginning of the film, when Cindy Busby's character is supposedly dating this one guy and they're going to go on a date, and then he runs off to Vegas with a guy, we actually had the thought, isn't that interesting?
I didn't even notice that.
I know, but it was interesting. It's like, isn't this interesting? Then he came back and he wanted to date her.
No, I know. Neil, right? Neil or Nolan or Nolan.
Something like,
Nolan.
Which I thought was interesting because we both had the same thought. We're sitting there. It's like, is he, we had that thought. I mean, is he trying to figure out his sexuality? I mean, we actually did have that thought. We were like, okay, is this, as Hallmark, is this, and I thought it was, I don't know if anybody else picked up on that, but that was, we both had the same thought. Now, going back to this film, my mom picked up on that subtle gay relationship. I didn't even see it because sometimes sometimes they go right over my head, I will admit. And then later it's like, okay, I can kind of see that. But so the way I look at it is this, is that Hallmark, first of all, is a corporate, they're a corporation, and they are trying to move into the 21st century, I guess you'd say. They're trying to represent all kinds of people. And that means when they speak of diversity, they're not just speaking of racial, they're speaking of sexual orientation as well. Now, I personally don't really, I mean, I don't go for that particular lifestyle. I have lots of friends who do, and we have a great relationship. I'm not here to judge them. But Hallmark is making the decision to go this direction, and the viewers then have to make the decision: are we going to completely withdraw our support from Hallmark, or are we going to pick and choose like we do on the other networks? And even if people are disappointed that now maybe we have to pick and choose, or we have to completely let Hallmark go because they're making this move, I think people have to remember Hallmark is not a Christian organization. I think sometimes people say Hallmark is Christian. Okay, no, Hallmark's actually not Christian. And
not at all.
They've made it really clear.
They haven't had a faith-based film unless you count Signed, Sealed, Delivered, and even that's been a while. They haven't had a faith-based property in a long time.
Well, the Godwinks one kind of
Yeah,
are, kind of are.
kind of.
I know, kind of
Yeah,
are.
that's fair. That's fair.
But
Yeah.
but the fact of the matter is, major networks have have allusions to faith. Sometimes, I will watch these
Yeah.
network shows that feature even gay characters, and then they still have elements of faith in them because
Yeah.
we're trying to represent everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And
Which
so,
is good, I think.
and so the thing is, no matter what, everybody has to make their own decision.
Yeah.
Because I just had somebody who actually emailed me about this very issue, and they wanted to know my opinion on it. And the thing is, I'm not going to withdraw my support from Hallmark, even if I don't agree with everything that's airing on their channels. I mean, I could say, you know what, when every time that they have a psychic ad that comes up every time. Do I agree with psychics? I actually don't. I don't practice it. I don't go to that. So I could say, okay, Hallmark, I'm done with you because you're having a psychic ad, or you're having an ad about a movie on another channel that I don't think is family friendly. And I could say, I'm going to withdraw my support. Everybody has to make their own decisions.
Yeah.
About Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. I feel like this started the conversation, and to me, that's a positive thing. And so I thought it was good, and I think that that people deserve to have love stories told about them, and I think it's important that we start the conversation, and so that's what I felt like that we had here, and definitely be curious for everybody's conversation and what they have to say about it. And so yeah, they had Adam and Billy. There we go. It happened. We were waiting for it. We knew it was coming. And so
I totally missed it. If my mom hadn't said anything, I would not have even noticed. And which is just crazy. I'm thinking, how did I not notice? But I mean, the thing is, you can look back through Hallmark movies, and there have been potential gay characters.
Well, I mean,
or
even
ones
if you go way back, The Bride for Christmas, which is a fan favorite that everyone loves. Kimberly Susted's character is gay, and nobody cares about that.
I know.
So I don't know. It's people. Gay marriage is here. We have it. It's part of the land. So I don't know. I feel like it's important to share everyone's story. So we'll see what happens, and it's going to be an interesting to
now
watch.
I will say that if Hallmark ever started to do bedroom scenes for any characters, I'd be a little bit I would then.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If it was PG-13, they've committed that these movies are G rated, and so I mean, I completely agree with you. So so out of 5, how many stars would you give Love Under the Olive Tree?
I'm going to say, I'm torn between two numbers. So, okay, so I'll give them the higher number since I'm torn. I'll go 4.25.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm going to give it 4. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really solid. So in the last one, I'll just give my thoughts on it was Midway to Love. It's so weird that they airing this on a Friday. Like, what?
I know. I don't understand that.
So bizarre. And I watched it early because I was able to find it online. We're recording this on Thursday, just for the record, on the 25th. And so I watched it. You didn't get a chance to see it, but I thought I'd just give my thoughts. It stars Rachel Hendricks and Daniel Stein. And it's when the network announces that her television therapy show is changing to a tabloid schlock fest, a straight-laced and caring psychologist returns to her hometown and reunites with her high school sweetheart. Eventually, she realizes that having someone to share her life with is more important than fame or the excitement of the city. So this movie is extremely basic. Like, I mean, you just heard that summary. We've seen that plot a million times. So I wouldn't argue anybody on that count at all. It is extremely predictable. But I actually ended up, and maybe it was just low expectations, but I ended up actually enjoying it. I think for this type of formula film, I think it was executed pretty well. I liked both of the leads who I'm unfamiliar with. I thought that they had a nice chemistry together.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that the whole the Jerry Springer-ish talk show that they're turning her sweet little show into this like
Mm-hmm.
tabloid, where they're like paternity tests, and that was ridiculous and
Right.
hilarious, made
Right.
me laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And overall it was a sweet little romantic comedy. And I think a lot of people will like it. It
Oh,
was a lot
good.
better than I expected.
Good. Well,
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you then. So Rachel Hendricks. Now, we actually have seen her on Hallmark before, but
Oh, have we?
we've never seen her in a lead role. Yes.
Oh.
Christmas Wishes and Mistletoe Kisses. She was the other. She was the one that was still was trying to break up Jill Wagner's character. And
Oh yeah, I forgot
yes,
about her. Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
So, and she is one who was in a really I saw this movie too. She was in a faith-based film called October Baby, which if you haven't seen it, it's not the best faith-based film I've ever seen, but it was kind of like one that started to change the it was definitely a level up from what faith-based films had been.
Uh-huh.
It's a really interesting one because she plays a character that that her mother tried to abort her, and
Mhm.
she ended up living, and or
Oh, was
something
this
like that.
Vanessa Hudgens was in that?
I don't
Mm.
think so. I don't think
Oh,
so. I was just
okay.
looking to see, but I don't think so. I could probably find out to be sure, but it's interesting because I remember I had just seen October Baby, then she was in the Christmas movie, and then I remember this movie was coming. I was like, oh, so, and I realized that Hallmark's acquired it, but I'm interested to see what
Yeah.
will happen with her in the future.
Well, since I watched this on the Christian
Mm-hmm.
streaming whatever, I thought
Right.
it was going to be faith-based, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
This
Okay.
one, it's not.
Yeah.
And it's just it is a, like I said, it is very basic.
Right. Right.
Going back to the girl from the city
Mm-hmm.
that goes back to the country, small town. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Sometimes if you have a formula and
Yeah.
people, it is a formula that I like, and when it's done
Yeah.
well, I like it. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of how I felt about it. And I think I think people will like it if they give it a
Okay.
shot. I
Good.
thought that this
Good.
Daniel Stein guy, I thought he was
Yeah.
pretty charming.
Oh, good. Well,
Yeah,
that's good.
yeah.
That's
And
good.
so I would give it like 3.75.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. It's okay. Well,
crowns.
hey.
Yeah,
Okay. Well,
surprise.
that's actually good to know then, because
Mm-hmm.
because I know that I mean, first of all, it's going to be strange enough that we're seeing it on a Friday,
I know, it's so
which
weird. Like,
I don't
why go to all the trouble to acquire it and then put it on Friday? What?
I'm not sure.
So
I'm not
weird.
sure.
So weird.
But I well, that's good. It's good to hear your review. Just be
Yeah.
because I'm looking forward to seeing it, and I was honestly too busy to. I knew I knew I could try to see it ahead of time, and I wanted to, but it was just things have been really busy for me. But that's good to hear you give it that high of a rating for an acquired film,
Yeah.
because lots of times those acquired films are not as
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes the quality
Sometimes
is a
they're
lot lower.
rough.
Yes,
Sometimes they're
right,
rough. And
right,
this definitely had a smaller budget as well.
right, right.
But it was serviceable as far as the
Okay,
filmmaking side of it. But
well, good.
anyway, so we'll be curious to hear what people think about that one.
Yes.
And so overall, it was an interesting group of 4 movies, I would say.
Okay.
And looking forward to Christmas in July. That's always a fun
Right.
respite
Yeah.
from especially
Right.
this year, I think.
Right.
And so this has been great. Thank you so much, Ruth. I really appreciate you coming on and catching up and talking about these movies. And we just thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for asking me, because I know it's been a crazy year, crazy time, and I know that you've tried to get me on here, and I've had to cancel out it many times, and it's just kind of like I thought, oh, when can I even get back on with you guys?
Yeah.
Because I know it's been so crazy, but it was honestly really great. You asked me at a perfect moment, where it worked into my schedule, and I was in a really, I've been in such a good mindset, over the past
Oh,
month or so,
good. I'm
very, very
glad.
much, where I think that I will venture to say that if you do choose to ask me in the future, I think there will be more of a chance of me coming on.
Oh,
Just,
great.
I think I can say that.
Great. Well, if people want to follow you, your social media, also your blog and everything you do,
Mhm.
how can they do that?
So my blog is mydevotionalthoughts.net. Then on Twitter and Instagram, it's Ruth Hill 74. And then Facebook, if you look my devotional thoughts, actually there's a Ruth Hill 74. I actually have I have two Facebook pages, which is wild. It's only because Instagram, when I had to make Instagram into a business page, it didn't let me link. It refused to let me link my old Facebook page to it, so I
Mhm.
had to start a new one, which is ridiculous. But I tried to. So anyway, so I do have I do have two Facebook pages where some people follow both, some people follow one. But you can find that's how you find me on Facebook.
Great. Okay, great. We'll have all that in the description
Okay.
section. Make sure you're following. Ruth is amazing with the interviews. She's the best. And you follow me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So please check that out. I was really excited on my personal podcast. We did the first female film critics forum,
Ooh.
that where I had three of my fellow film critics, female film
Hmm.
critics, and we talked about the challenges of this toxic fandoms and toxic
Oh,
relationships and other things going on. And I'm really proud of it. I would love if people gave it a listen, and
okay.
I'll have that description in the description. And then make sure you're following the podcast, the Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all over social media. And if you're listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. It really helps us out a lot. And also, if you are listening on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. It helps us out very much. We also have our merch store, which has tons of Hallmark inspired merch, and we have our Patreon group, which is really, really great, and we really appreciate that. And so all of that, we would really appreciate your support, and thank you for listening. Let us know your thoughts on all the different things that we talked about. And thanks again, Ruth, and we will definitely have to have you back again, hopefully sooner rather than later.
Right. Okay. All right. It was a pleasure. So thanks for
All
having me.
right. All right. We'll talk to you later. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.